developing this solution. You've spent the last 5 years of your life developing a machine, a complex system, software and hardware combined, and its only purpose in life is to beat those two guys that you're about to play against. And I want to sort of give you a feeling of how they felt after 5 years of hard work.
I remember that morning going to the lab, and I was thinking, this is it. This is the last Jeopardy game.
This is Jeopardy, the IBM challenge.
Here we go. Brad, if you're ready, make your first choice.
Let's take alternate meanings for 200, Alex.
4-letter word for a vantage point or a belief. Brad,
What is a view?
yes.
After the first clue of the game, which Brad won, I had just this horrible feeling at that moment that he was as good as everyone said he was, and he was just going to run the whole board on us.
Watson,
What is chip?
you are right.
We actually took the lead. We were ahead of them, but then we started getting some questions wrong.
Watson?
What is leg?
No, I'm sorry, I can't accept that.
What is 1920s?
No,
What is cheap?
no, sorry. Brad,
What is class?
class, you got it. Watson?
What is Sauron?
Sauron is right, and that puts you into a tie for the lead with Brad.
The Double Jeopardy round of the first game, I thought was phenomenal.
Watson went on a tear.
Watson,
Who is Franz Liszt?
you are right.
What is violin?
Good.
Who is the church lady?
Yes. Watson,
What is narcolepsy?
you are right, and with that, you move to $36,681.
The risk was Ken gets a daily double, that's big, gets it right, he's going to be well ahead. And then with that kind of lead going to Final Jeopardy, if he bets enough, he could end up winning the match.
Ken,
What's a committee?
We gotta find that last daily double. We gotta find that last daily double.
It was a crucial moment in the game. There was still a daily double on the board, and it was starting to become pretty clear that it was in the legal ease category.
Let's go to legal ease for 1200.
Watson,
What is executor?
Right.
Same category, 1600.
answer. Very well.
That was the moment when I knew it's over.
The category is 19th century novelists.
What Watson wants to do then is preserve the lead, not take a big risk, especially with Final Jeopardy, because just like for humans, Final Jeopardy is hard for Watson.
Now we come to Watson, who is Brad's over and the wager. Hello, 17,973 had a 2-day total of 77,147.
I would have thought that technology like this was years away, but it's here now. I have the bruised ego to prove it.
My past Jeopardy experiences have been great, but they weren't really weighty with this kind of technological, philosophical importance. I think we saw something important today.
Didn't really think very much about the implications until later and say, wow, wait a second, this is history.
Of course, this whole project is not ultimately about playing Jeopardy. It's about doing research and deep analytics and a natural language understanding. This is about taking the technology and applying it to solve problems people really care about. We're just so excited about all the things we can do with this.
I had thought this is the end. We get there, we're done. And I'm realizing it's just the beginning.
So I get a kick out of watching this, because everybody's like rooting for the machine. So that means I'm talking to the right audience. So you felt the pain for these guys. We actually, this was live on TV, and you can sort of hear how we were still sort of vaguely trusting what we had built. And we played best out of 3 games, because we actually, you saw the winner's cloud before, right? Clever guys. Now we didn't need a day 3, but it was still close at times, as you can see. So after we did Watson, actually already in parallel with Watson, we had been starting some dialogue with some doctors who said, you know what, guys, what you got here is really groundbreaking. Doctors live in a world today where all the medical knowledge doubles every 5 years. So when a doctor goes out of school, it would actually shift them back to school again. By 2020, they predict that the material around medicine knowledge will double every quarter. So we're just at a point where, you know, and we haven't even begun to talk about personalized medicine yet, right? We are at the brink of something really huge in healthcare, and I think that's part of why you guys are here and why you're playing around with these ideas and thoughts yourself. There is something really big about to happen to us as a race, but it requires for us to dive into big data. It requires us to have systems that can really help us, you know, break that barrier around personalized medicine and make that something that we put in the hand of everybody and not just a few researchers like it is today. So there's huge challenges in front of us, and we will work with that. Financial services, there's always banks around who are willing to take a bet on technology, and quite a few of them have been betting on Watson to help them do proper investments for their clients. We have some commercial solutions out now. I've actually met a couple of CEOs in banks who said, I want a Watson in my basement. And we said, no, you cannot have a Watson in your basement. Oh, I want a Watson in my basement. We said, no, you probably can't afford a Watson in your basement. They said, we want a Watson in our basement. We said, okay, the price is. And they said, you're right. We don't want a Watson in our basement. So all these cognitive services, we're delivering those as cloud services, right? It's a pay-as-you-go service. And we're a strong believer in API economy. So an economy where you pay as you go for the features that you're using, and I'll show you examples of that as we move on. So in 2012, we were beginning to see that this Watson technology was being applied across multiple domains. And that caused us to make a bet. Here's Mike Roden. He's a happy camper. He got $1 billion from our CEO to set up a Watson business unit. 1,500 people headquartered in New York. And you know, he was clever enough, and the team was clever enough to say, you know what, we're going to carve 10% out of that and put that into startup venture capital. Because we knew we're on this era of a brand new computing paradigm. New solutions that's never been seen before, and the ability to combine this and, you know, being able to run this in the cloud, you just need to be clever, right? You don't even need money to build a basement and fill it with servers and have, you know, system administrators taking care of everything for you. Now you can just access that over the internet. So, so we know it's important to support startups, and we already have a bunch of reps running on Watson. Again, if you're bored and if you don't believe in your startup, you know, 400 jobs around Watson and IBM. And if you want to go back to school, we have now 2 universities in the Nordics. We have about 100 worldwide universities that we have lent a Watson, who are using that in research and is using that to teach their students. We got one in Denmark. I'm the technical mentor for that. We got one in Finland. I'm the technical mentor for that. We don't have one in Sweden yet, but that could be fun. So a lot of universities are interested in this, and of course we sort of go through a process to say, well, if we're to offer this to you, we sort of want to make sure that you embed it properly into your training and teaching and research. So, but 2 so far in the Nordics. So here's a few examples of some of the applications that has been using Watson technology. Some of them I can't show you, but you can imagine that there is defense, police, security research. that is very, very interested in applying this kind of technology. But here's a few examples of what it's used for, and one of the most easy ones to understand is the one that we're doing with Deakin University in Australia. You know, the market for universities, they really need students, and it's a very competitive market. So how do you attract students? Well, you make sure that you can answer all their questions before they sign up. And who better to answer questions than Watson? And also, once you got students on board and they're at your campus, and you know, before they get to campus, it's like, how much does it cost? Can I get a job? Can I get a place to stay on campus? You know, a lot of questions like that. And then once you're up and running and you get them on campus, then a lot of questions about, I flunked algebra again. You know, what can I do to collect enough points to move forward? So Watson is helping answer questions from potential and new students. And there's some other interesting solutions. There's Singapore tax agency. If you live in Singapore and you have questions about should you pay tax or not and how much you can pay, you can go in and ask Janine, I think they call her. And Janine is powered by Watson, and you can have a play with that. So different implementations on Watson around the world. So this was the year before last year. This year, we formed another business unit. We actually found out that, you know what, this whole health thing is really taking off. So we've now formed a new business unit, just announced, headquartered in Boston, and we call it the Watson Health Unit. We put a bunch of clever guys in that business unit, including some clever doctors and researchers. And here's the oncology solution that I talked about before. So what you have here is a solution that looks at a patient's medical record, and it looks at all the alternative treatment options there are. And if you've done enough tests, and if you feed Watson with enough information, Watson will come back and give you suggestions on treatment options. And today, treatment options, they just explode in front of us. So breast cancer is no longer just breast cancer. There's more than 20 different forms of breast cancer. And for each of these, there's multiple ways to treat ladies who suffer from that, right? So how do you pick the best one? How do you pick the right one? And we're fortunate enough to live here in Scandinavia where, you know, if we get ill enough, we get to the expert in the country. And he may not need a Watson. He's probably one of the guys who could train and teach Watson. But imagine if you're in other parts of the world, you know, in the US, for instance, you don't get to the expert. You get to the level of expertise that your insurance company thinks you're entitled to. Big difference. So to put some technology in a hand of people who may not be specialized in oncology, but can still give you good treatment options is very powerful. And we're using that. Clinical trial matching is another one. If you're fatally ill and you're about to die and there is no treatment today, one of the first questions you'll have to your doctor is, aren't there anybody developing something that we could try out? And to search through all of those potential trials and find out whether you're a good match and whether you, with you know, your illness and your disease and your symptoms and what have you, if you're eligible for, you know, entering one of those ongoing trials, we build a search engine for that as well. And then we built Watson Health Cloud. So the issue here is when you go to your doctor and your doctor asks you, how do you feel? The truth is you don't have a clue. Because what the doctor would like to know is, how tough is your heart pumping blood around? How is your veins doing and coping with that blood? How is your lungs picking up oxygen? And our mental mind doesn't have a clue, right? I feel a little tired Monday afternoon. You know, that's all you can tell your doctor. So on the other hand, there's all these wearables. How many of you are wearing, you know, one of these wristband exercise? We got one. Is there only one in this room? Sweden? Look at me. You know why I'm not wearing one, but at least a few of you should. Okay. All right. So, but we believe that we are at the verge of a point where if we collect the data, the patient journals and all those electronic feedbacks coming in, all those x-rays that you've had, all those scanned images, if we combine all that and we match that with millions of other equally detailed data, we believe that we're at the brink of a point, and we got 16 universities backing that idea, by the way, and they're uploading all their patient journals, 16 university hospitals, uploading their patient journals and their patient information, anonymizing all that into Watson Health Cloud, and doing analytics on that to try to find patterns, hidden patterns, that will make those hospitals able to call their patients and say, you know, we're seeing something in your data. We have a bed ready for you tomorrow. Please check into the hospital. So something big is about to happen. We talked about personalized medicine, a lot of investment dollars in that area as well, and breakthrough stories coming out almost on a daily level there. So, so very, very interesting as well. So here's one I'll show you. We sort of thought about, okay, so we've proven that Watson can work on unstructured data, right? Doesn't have to be structured, it can be unstructured, even spoken data. What if we could apply some of these cognitive technologies to images? What if we could use those cognitive abilities to learn over time and become more and more clever? And so we tried this out with skin cancer images. We loaded 3,000 pictures into Watson, and Watson came back with a 95% certainty of being able to say whether that mole was a skin cancer or not. And the best experts in the field, currently they're between 75 and 84%. Now that sounds pretty cool, right? But on the other hand, what would be really cool is to look at your skin and say, you need to do something about it before it turns into skin cancer. Because the truth is, it doesn't really matter when your doctor looks at your mole and he says, you know, I'm almost certain that is probably, you know, we should probably test that, right? So if he's just 50% uncertain, he or she will run a test for you. So it doesn't really matter that much. Unless, of course, you can't access that doctor. And all you got is your smartphone and your ability to take a picture of your skin. But that's another story. But imagine what we could do with scanned images. Imagine if we could sort of wind to the right image or to the most important image telling the right story, so we won't have to have doctors, you know, flipping through all those images. Same goes with X-ray. Imagine if we could have a system that could come up and diagnose, or at least give diagnosis advice based on those images. So I'll show you a little bit how you can play around with part of this technology with your own hands, and I'll show you that in a second. So before I show you how you can get your hands on some Watson stuff, I want to show you another short video to sort of tell you where we're going. And you can go on YouTube and you can look for IBM debating technologies and you can find this video. So the idea here is, what if you could have a system that could come and tell you pros and cons on an argument? So what we did is, and I apologize for this, but we couldn't find a better source. We took Wikipedia and we uploaded Wikipedia. And then we said, okay, Watson, what if I throw a question at you? And in this case, the question is, will children get violent from playing violent video games? should we actually ban violent video games? And so what Watson will do is, of course you can find a few articles and a few sentences that is on that topic, but to pick the 3 top ones, pro and against that argument, that's the trick. And that's what we built. So stay with me.
Now I'd like to show you a third capability which we've never shown before outside of our research labs. And this will give you a hint and a sense for where Watson is going in the future. The real question is, can a computer not just answer complex questions with simple answers, and not just take massive amounts of genomic data and come up with better treatments for cancer, but can a computer take raw information and digest and reason on that information and understand the context? So one of the prototype systems that we're building is something we call the debater. We give it freewheeling understanding of large bodies of information like Wikipedia, and we ask the computer, with no human intervention, construct arguments pro and con on any subject we throw at it. And the result of that is what I'd like to show in the demonstration now. If we could roll the video, please.
Hello, and welcome to the IBM Debating Technologies demonstration. Today we shall focus on detecting relevant claims. To proceed, please select the topic, and I will share with you my top predictions for pro claims and con claims.
So as I said, we could throw any subject at it. I've chosen some here. Let's just pick the first one. So it will now look for all the literature and try to understand as a computer what's a pro and what's a con for violent video games. Let's roll the first one.
Scanned approximately 4 million Wikipedia articles, returning 10 most relevant articles. Scanned all 3,000 sentences in top 10 articles. Detected sentences which contain candidate claims. Identified borders of candidate claims. Assessed pro and con polarity of candidate claims. Constructed demo speech with top claim predictions. Ready to deliver. You have selected the topic. The sale of violent video games to minors should be banned. I would like to raise the following points in support of the topic. Exposure to violent video games results in increased physiological arousal, aggression-related thoughts and feelings, as well as decreased prosocial behavior. In addition, these violent games or lyrics actually cause adolescents to commit acts of real-life aggression. Finally, violent video games can increase children's aggression. On the other hand, I would like to note the following claims that oppose the topic. Violence in video games is not causally linked with aggressive tendencies. In addition, most children who play violent games do not have problems. Finally, video game play is part of an adolescent boy's normal social setting. Would you like to discuss another topic?
So as you can see,
So we believe that we're sort of at the brink of something brand new, right? It's hard to put that in algorithms. You don't program that. So we believe that we're at the brink of something new. And so I dare you. You want to try? Take Watson for a spin? Usually we try to ask people, if this was a small audience, we would say, so what would you do with Watson if you had one? And let your imagination flow. Now I talked about that Watson is turning into sort of suite of different products and services, and I'll show you some of those in a second. And some of them are, these really basic, you have to train and teach Watson exactly to give the right answer back. And to some extent, the right answer needs to be in that corpus of knowledge. So for instance, what you just saw, Watson doesn't dream up a new sentence, right? It just scans through Wikipedia, and everything he ends up finding out, those are top, pro and con. They're sentences that has already been fed to Watson. But we also have other systems that come up with something new. look for patterns that we didn't know would exist. Try to discover things. And so, we were thinking a little bit about creativity. Could we actually get a computer to be creative? Could a computer help us with fashion, architecture, music, or my favorite topic, food? So, so you can YouTube this, and I'm going to save you this one, but computational creativity. And so what we did, and you can Google Chef Watson, you can log on, and you can get access to Chef Watson, and in your home kitchen, you can actually come up with a couple of ingredients, and you can say, I would like you to turn that dear Watson into a breakfast, and why don't you give that an Asian twist or an Italian twist? And so the way that we taught Watson this is we gave him 10,000 recipes, so he knows sort of, he has an idea about what we like together. And we taught him chemistry, so he also have an idea for that. The other day I spun the wheel on. I heard a guy who enjoyed making pancakes for his wife out of coconut flour. So I said, what if I put coconut flour and breakfast into Watson? Let's see what happens. And Watson came up with waffles. And he even put garlic in there, so I haven't dared to try yet. But you can take that for a spin. Or if you're really bored, you can buy this book, this first book that's ever come out of recipes that Watson has come up with. Now, yes, so, but of course, it sort of takes a real chef to make sure that the ingredients aren't completely wacko, especially the amount of each ingredient, and then of course how you present it, right? So that's not something that we've come to yet. So here's another solution that you can give a spin, and if we had more time, I would show this to you, but maybe you could invite me to your startup once you are a proper size, and we can have a conversation about this. But this is a solution that we call Watson Analytics. And where a lot of these Watson solutions, they work on unstructured data. This one works on structured data. So what you do is you find your good old spreadsheet, and you upload the spreadsheet into Watson, and magically Watson will come back with ideas for you on how to visualize cool stuff. And not only that, but you can actually ask questions to your data in natural language. If you don't believe me, you should try. But so here's, imagine if you could do this. Which benefits have the biggest impact on employee retention? Right? Should I raise their salary? Should I give them stock options? Should I take them bowling? What works best for my employees? And so you can take this for a spin. Watson Analytics. There's even a version that starts for free. Now, of course, that comes with limits. So for instance, the free version, you don't have access to Twitter data. You have that if you pay a few Swedish kronor per month. But in the free version, we also sort of put limits on the amount of data that you can upload. That's sort of, a lot of people are accessing the free solution. So we're saying you can upload a spreadsheet that's 50 columns wide, and then we put the limit at 100,000 rows. That's still a pretty good data set. You can still get some meaningful information out of that. So you should take that for a spin. It's actually quite fun. Very meaningful. So that was Watson Analytics. And as I said, if we had a bit more time. Appetite for more? Watson Developer Cloud. This rings a little bit like startup, doesn't it? So these are the services that I talked about before. And so we came up with, today we're at 16 services. So actually this little baby is old because it only has 12 of the cognitive Watson services. And you can access them under a platform that we call Bluemix, an innovation platform. We knew that we had to get a platform out that would sort of put these services at the hands of you, for you to embed and utilize these services in your apps, in your solutions. And so while we're at it, and while we put these 16 services of Watson services under here, of course we took the liberty of putting a few other services together to say, why don't we try to help you guys as you deal with mobile or security or DevOps or business analytics or big data or Internet of Things. So if you want to do workflows, if you want to do Hadoop clusters, if you want to do predictive modeling or presence insights, you can work with that. And I'm going to go all in here with a live demo. So Mr. Rong Chen, you're about ready? So I approached Rong Chen when he came in. He was one of the early ones who came in, and I said, could you please download a QR reader on your phone? I'm going to ask the rest of you not to play along, but let Rong Chen here play along, all right? So I'm going to Google Bluemix, if I can spell. Here we go. And I'm going to enter this Bluemix platform. And remember, this is not a Watson service, so this is just another service that we have out there. And bear with me here a little bit. I'm going to click Solutions now. I'm not going to log in or do anything fancy. A little slow here on my 3G. I'm going to click Internet of Things. And I have the option to try it out. And first I need to come up with a code. In this case, I've already done this, called it whatever, and I gave it a code. I'm not going to tell all of you this code because then you're going to play along. But Rong Chen, he's going to try to access this. Maybe we should make it bigger for you. Whoops, whoops. Maybe you stand up and come closer. Yeah.
Good.
All right. So with a bit of luck, you will come to a web page that will ask you for
4-digit code.
okay. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't tell me. So it says connecting,
Yeah.
and in a while it says connected.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So try to move your device. Move your phone. There we go. Yeah, right. Move it, make circles,
Okay.
go wild.
Nice.
Try to shake it really hard. Hey, we can take this some serious shape. All right. So is your startup into Internet of Things? Oh, pretty fast. You want to use this? Maybe not. Maybe. All right. But now you're here for Watson, right? You're not here for Internet of Things. That would be another session, right? So I just wanted to show you a little bit about these services and how we're trying to make them very available and easy to play with. And remember, I didn't even log in. I just started playing, and everything I'm going to show you here is all about just playing around. Now I want to search for this Watson Developer Cloud. And I just want to show you Watson Developer Cloud before I dive back. So here's Watson Developer Cloud, and look at here, your gateway for building new generation of cognitive apps. Try for free on Bluemix, and then get started. And then you can read more about these cognitive apps down here. This is the slide I just showed you. There's one called speech to text, text to speech, dialogue, trade-off analytics, and a few others. And I'm going to show you a small sample of these. So if you go into Bluemix, and again, without logging in, and we got about 100 services running from IBM and from partners. So if I click and zoom in on the Watson services, this is the same 16 that you saw before in Watson Developer Cloud. And I want to play with one of these. I want to play with one called personality insight. What if I could find a flow of tweets or some text that someone has written, and I could actually, based on that, try to find out more details about their personality. So, so that's the use case. And for doing that, I thought I should come up with a Swede. And so here's Olof Palme and a speech that he did at the African National Congress. And with a bit of luck, we should be able to access that. Struggling. There we go. All right, so here's the speech by Olof Palme. I'm going to try to copy and paste that. I'll go into Bluemix. I'll find personality insights. And without logging in, I can start playing around. I can click View Docs. That will open another tab. I can click the demo. And I will paste this speech from Olof Palme in here. I guess not. Here we go. Here we go. Olof Palme's speech. And I'm going to click Analyze. Now, this is only 2,200 words, so it will come up with a caution and say, well, you know, we actually need a minimum of 3,500 words, ideally more than 6,000 to come up with this. But anyhow, this is how we rate your personality based on what you've written. Or at least the guy who wrote the speech for it, right? Yeah, that's why I pick politicians. They can always point at something. And you scroll down here, and here's your big 5 data. How adventurous are you? What's your imagination? What is your intellect? Right, blah, 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 blah. And if you like this visually instead, here's the personality of the guy. Or at least the guy who wrote that speech. So does it sound ridiculous? Maybe. Does it sound useful? Yeah. Can you imagine the retail sector? Can you imagine government who wants to be able to communicate more eye to eye with their citizens, trying to figure out how do I communicate to senior citizens that are well educated or senior citizens that are not? You know, if you can access some of their data, Twitter feeds, and I know there's not that many senior citizens today that use Twitter, but believe me, in a few years, we're all going to be senior citizens. Some of us, I hope. All right, so that was one thing. I want to show you another. I'm actually going to use the same data, and this is my personal favorite. It's called Alchemy. So with Alchemy, you can do different things. I'm going to allow you to, you can read this on your own time. I'm not going to dive into that, but I can click Try the Demo. I can click Alchemy Language, and here I could put in a URL, or I can load a text sample. I'm going to take that away. I'm going to put our text sample in there. So here's Olof Palme's speech. I'm going to click Try It. Or you can enter your own API key, right? So this is normal REST APIs once you get rolling on this. And here you go. Language is detected to English. The author is Olof Palme. And here's the different entities. He talks about South Africa. That is a country, and he talks in mixed sentiment about that. He's negative about Namibia. That's a country. Africa is a continent. He talks negatively about that. But he's positive on United Nations. He's mixed on Pretoria. Lagos he's negative about, and it goes on and on and on, right? So a really cool way to turn unstructured information into structured information. And now you can apply all the analytics that you want in the world on this, right? So a quick way to do that. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Good, I thought I lost you. Yeah, we have a question.
Yeah, but the big picture here then, the detect is political views. Isn't that the big?
A little louder, please.
Could it detect his political views? Isn't that the really?
Maybe you build an app that helps us do that.
Understand.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I think it could.
Trump speeches. I don't think you need Watson download there.
So there's actually a reason why I choose people who are dead and show the information about them. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So there's different things. Actually, I think I want to show you a slide or two.
The language translation, does that do that text to text or does that speech to text?
So you can do speech to text or text to speech, and then you can do language translation that is text to text.
Speech to speech.
So you can talk, and then you can use the service that turns speech to text. Then you can take that text, run that through the translator, and then from that, the output from that translator, you can use the service called text to speech, and then you can hear the translated.
Would it be possible to program something that would do that?
Sure. Yeah.
It's just that you have it as 2 separate modules, but there's nothing that says that you can't start.
If you can call 3 REST API services in your app, yeah, you can do that. All right, I showed you alchemy. So what if we start combining some of this? This is some of the ideas that you have, right? What if we sort of jiggle with this? And here's some stuff that we did on, you saw alchemy, and we have another one called speech to text. And how many of you know TED Talks? How many does not know about TED Talks? No one dares. No one? No one knows? Everybody knows about TED Talks? Yeah. Right, these cool talks, 2,000, I think. 2,000 videos, clever people getting up on stage. One of my friends recently did one. He said, it is ridiculous how much you have to rehearse to do a 15-minute presentation. I'm talking more than an hour now and haven't prepared much, but he said it was crazy. So what we did is we actually took these TED Talks and we took speech to text, and then we took alchemy. And so what you can do now is you can search all the TED Talks. So here's the idea. How does money relate to happiness? And it will wind through those 2,000 videos. It will come to that clip where they talk about money or happiness or a combination. And it will play those clips to you. In this case, it identified 4 clips, and you can play around and see those. So pretty cool. So I'm a bit over time here. We want to have time for mingle and questions and other good stuff. I'm going to show you the last one. We talked about skin cancer. We thought about x-rays. We thought about scanned images. We recently had what they call a terrorist attack in Copenhagen, one wacko going berserk. And we actually had the issue that there's a lot of cameras filming this guy, but it was very intensive to have police guys sitting and looking through videos. So what if you could do that in a little more clever way? And I'm going to show you a little thing here. So let's go in here. Let's do visual recognition. So we can do videos or pictures. I'll do demo. Here we go. So instead of taking one of these samples up here, I'm actually going to find the JPEG. And I'm going to find one of Heidi, my colleague, that you can mingle with afterwards when I stop talking. So here's a picture of Heidi I found last night. And Watson is trying to find out what it is. And again, look at the rating, right? It's trying to sort of figure out what is this. And it's also trying to tell us it's actually a little bit in doubt of what this is. But imagine if you're a police guy and you have this to search through your video, and 90% of that video has no people in it, right? Just to get to those segments in the video where you can actually see humans is pretty cool. So so you can, as you can see, you can try that out, play around with that, together with the 16 other services or the 100 services that we have under Bluemix. And the good news is you can sign up for a 30-day free trial. If an interesting startup, and you can convince Heidi. You can even be allowed to use that for a longer period of time free of charge. We'll also be happy to help you with other technologies and give you input. We'll even give you some business mentoring and go-to-market support if you would like to expand to other countries, or we are present in 170 countries, so maybe one of those countries that you want to expand into, maybe we have a few friends there that could help you into that market as well. So I think we'll wrap that up. Lars?
Great, Henrik. I have a first question, and then we'll open this for the rest of us. Really interesting stuff. We had a talk earlier today about insulin and what Watson will do around insulin, and the way you guys are kind of taking a position as well. And one of our startups is actually having this insulin pen with a clock on it and so on. And that's what brought us to what's going on in Boston and so on. Could you say something specific? What does this actually mean for something specific as, let's say, insulin and diabetes?
Right. So people with diabetes, including my daughter, by the way, who's struggling with that every day to remember to take insulin at different times, and how much do I take, and how do I set up, in her case, our insulin pump, but in other cases, a pen where you take insulin. And to tell you the truth, there is very little guidance to find in the health sector today on, if you're about this height and you're about this slim and you do this much exercise and you're a teenager and you sleep half the day, then how much insulin should you take at what times a day? And so we're working with a few interesting companies to try to do analytics on that, to be able to be more clever and give guidance on how to properly inject yourself with insulin, whether that's a pump or a pen that you use. We teamed up with CVS, a pharmacy in the U.S., 70 million patients there that we're trying to give advice to. We teamed up with Medtronic, who do insulin pumps and sensor technology for blood sugar levels. And we're now in the middle of working with their people and our people to do research on, coming up with better recommendations for better treatment options and diet, and probably give yourself the proper insulin that you need. So, yeah.
So this is the way, creating all these data sets, buying these companies to get to the data, and we'll have this problem around who owns the data. What's your thought on that?
So we a lot of this, you actually upload your data. I uploaded a picture of Heidi and other things, and unlike many of our colleagues in the market, we don't do anything with that data. It is yours. We don't own it, but we own the services that you use. And if you find that service really good, and if you put that service into your solution, we will ask you to pay a fee every time somebody clicks that service. Sometimes that fee is very low, like you saw Alchemy, where we turned unstructured text into structured text. I think, the fee is like $1 for 10,000 clicks or something, So, but that's sort of where we're going with what we call the API economy. If you haven't looked into API economy, I think you should really take a dive into that. We did a red paper, so you can Google IBM red paper on API economy. We are a firm believer of the fact that today you buy a solution and you only use a corner, but you pay for all this. That's not what we're going to see in the future. In the future, you're going to only pay for what you use, and by the way, only when you click it and when you actually use it and when it provides value to you. But the data is yours. We don't do anything with that.
Well, there's some questions. We start over here, please.
Can you build your own corpus and Linux?
No.
Repeat
So the question is, can you build your own corpus? So your knowledge, can you build that in Bluemix? And in Bluemix, no. So in Bluemix, there is the question answer engine, so you can try that out. And it will come back with proper hit scores, and you can deal with that. If you want to build your own corpus, you either enroll in one of the 100 universities that we've given access to a Watson, or we have a conversation about building a corpus in one of our systems. But that requires a commercial version.
One other follow-up question on that. If you build a corpus and use, let's say, scientific papers that are maybe owned by external, do you have a problem? I mean, can you use that, or is there intellectual property issues?
So is there ICAB issues with the stuff that you steal from somebody that you put into a corpus? And I would say there probably is, and you should talk to the guys who wrote that text. But there is actually a marketplace. So let's say that you get hold of the people who wrote that text that you want to put into a corpus and that you want to format probably and upload to Watson. There is actually a marketplace where you can then resell that corpus alone. So so you could actually turn that into a service on your own. So but yeah, ICAP rights will always be an issue. Make sure that you get your house in order on that. Yep, another one.
Have you had any experience with the retail space? Any experiment in that area?
Any experience in the retail space? Yes, actually quite a bit. And the personality insights that you saw, one of my favorite examples is from retail. There's a bicycle chain in the US. They are, of course, on the internet. People don't want to buy a bike on the internet. They actually want to go into a physical store and sort of feel the bike. And so their issue is they could not give as good support in their physical stores as they could online. Because online, they could ask for people to log in and give their Twitter handle, and they could find out a lot of things about them. So whereas in the stores, they had these stores that were open 24/7 and manned by students who didn't know a clue about bikes. So how could they come about that and actually put small kiosks up in the stores? You go up to a kiosk, you type in your Twitter handle, it does personality insights, it figures out, for me, it needs to show me pictures of biking downhill, for you, maybe uphill, and then it'll actually roll video movies in the background of downhill riding or straight or uphill driving and give examples of a few bikes that you should test out.
Over there.
Yeah, you said in the beginning that when Watson comes up with diagnose examples and suggestions for treatments proof-based, that of course a human takes the final decision. Now, with all respect, that seems to be a politically correct statement or a very careful statement. When in time would you suggest, or what would it take for the machine to take the final decision and take the human out?
So I personally don't believe that's going to happen. So what I'm going to cut the man out of the decision loop is basically what you're asking, right? What is interesting is actually the oncology solution that comes up with treatment options for tumor-based cancer. Doctors will actually turn the screen around and have a conversation with their patient about, okay, so here's Watson, and they actually like the little icon, and it's spinning and thinking, and it comes up with treatment options, and then they have a proper conversation about, you know, which one is best for you, and also sometimes come up and say, I need more input, I need more tests before it can come up with a proper answer. So, you know, we're only positioning this as a tool to make the ultimate decision. And I don't think we'll bypass that, but maybe I'm naive, who knows?
No, but it's one thing what he said, sorry. This, for example, in the pathologist, when they are manually assessing or analyzing these histological images and determining is this a disease or is this not, just like you said, the reliability of the machine is actually higher than a human making assessment kind of thing. And we're seeing that there's a lot more false negatives with humans than the machine. It will be able to catch more genuine cases. So getting back to that, even though what you're saying is treatment option, but in that case, you can actually, in theory, actually replace the human because the human is doing a poorer job than the machine is in identifying.
So, you know, I'm not sure I'm going to repeat all that, but you know, we are, as humans, you know, we meet Monday morning at work and we're tired like crazy, right? Or we've been on our feet forever it's been a long day, or doctor that's been looking at too many images over a day. You know, this is the same conversation we had when we put robot into factories, right? That machines can do the same quality over and over again. But that doesn't mean that we don't have people at the end of the production line testing the quality and making sure that the car can actually drive before we let somebody drive it, right? And I think this is, my personal view is this is a little bit the same. You know, we can have the computers help us keep the quality high, but the ultimate decision will be on us. Unless somebody decides to do crazy stuff. Yeah.
Okay, how smart is Watson really? And I don't mean it in like any bad way, but a lot of these things, for example, the debater, it was just like assembling information from different parts of the web and just coming up with tailored, well-suited answers. But what is like thinking capabilities? Can it like generate new arguments, like a philosopher or something like that?
Right. So, good question. How intelligent is Watson? Can it come up with new ideas?
Not just ideas, but like thoughts.
New thoughts.
Because ideas, you could just like.
Well, and I think that's what we tried to do actually with cognitive computing, right? We sort of said, can we come up with something novel and new? And yes, we can. Is it always a hit? Not sure. Is it rubbish sometimes? Pretty sure. Will we sometimes hit a home run? Yes. So, for instance, on personalized medicine, we have a commercial solution called Watson Discovery Advisor. And Watson Discovery Advisor will be looking at genomics and different input, and it will find patterns in data what used to take humans months to try to find out a new protein or whatever, and we can spin that through a machine that comes up with ideas for new proteins within a few hours. So it's not that Watson sort of takes on its own life, right? We can ask it to search for patterns where we know there are patterns, it's just too hard for us to search through them. And then on the other hand, there's these other solutions with Watson where Watson is stupid. And if you don't tell Watson the answer, he has no clue. But once you tell him the answer and you teach him different ways that questions could be asked that could point to that answer, then it sort of clicks for him, right? And then he can have a brand new question being asked, and he has then a good idea that that could be the answer. But if you don't have the answer in the corpus, in the knowledge domain, then it'll draw blank.
I would just start to or add to that, because philosophy is the base for science, and science is about posting a hypothesis and testing it. And I'm sure the machine can post the hypothesis, but it doesn't have a way of testing it. Therefore, it cannot produce new results the way a human can without aid. But it can at least post the hypothesis based on the information that it has.
But mathematicians, they don't need to.
So you guys need to meet out here in the center, right? Yeah. You're going to control this, or too many hands?
Have a go, we'll go over here.
I wonder, what's the collective power, or is there a collective power behind Watson? So you're saying constantly, right? So Watson is only powerful enough or smart enough the way you teach it. So say I'm a researcher in the US and I'm uploading a lot of my research, right? And a lot of clinical studies, etc., etc. And then there's another researcher in Europe who is also wondering about working on oncology, for example. Does that research get access to the knowledge built and the smartness built on the other side of the spectrum?
Not unless they've teamed together on the same solution. So the 16 universities that have gone together in the US on Watson Health Cloud, they will share information across. It's anonymized, they will share it. But if there's a team in Europe that goes wild and does the same thing, they're not going to have access to the same data. It's totally separate solutions. Yeah,
please.
Yeah, well, when you speak about Watson within healthcare, you're handling rather sensitive data, right? It's clinical records and such. Does Watson provide a solution for keeping that data safe, or is it at the sole discretion of who owns the data?
So sensitive information, patient data, keeping that safe.
Because it's the major hindrance
So are the Chinese looking? Is that what you're asking?
Well,
They probably are. Is it a Watson capability to secure that data? No, it's not. Do we have other solutions to help secure data in general? Yes, we do. Are they 100% fail-proof? No, they're not. Are the Chinese watching? Probably are. What else can I say? I mean, you know, as soon as you turn something digital and you put it up there in there, there's a risk, and you need to manage that. What we tend to do is work a lot on anonymizing data. So if you have the key and you anonymize using that key, then I would say you're pretty safe. Just make sure that you know where that key is. Right? Yeah.
Okay, we get time for a couple more questions, and then I think the best thing is to break this up, and then people can still talk to Henrik and others here, and we'll have a conversation. That's always those who won't talk in public. Yeah. So let's do this one. And there was another hand up here. The one in the back and the one here in front. Okay.
Are you using Watson on autonomous systems such as self-driving cars?
So are we using Watson on self-driving cars? No, we're not. Not that I'm aware of, at least. Who knows what those 3,000 guys are up to? But no, I'm not aware. And I actually don't think that you would need a Watson for that. I think you can build a pretty good rule engine to make sure that you don't run into stuff. Yeah, not that I'm aware of. Yeah. Last question, maybe?
Yeah, so you come across the field of like natural language processing, the visual and computer biology a lot more. So I just wonder, like, what is really Watson? Is this one system have really good like written structure presenting, or you're treating all of them as different problems? Like you have a group working on predicting X-ray data, or I mean, are these all connected or are they all separate?
So good question. Yeah, I mean, we started. It was easy in 2011. There was like one Watson, right? It was 8 refrigerators, and it was playing Jeopardy. Period. That was easy. And by the way, those 8 refrigerators are now down to 3 pizza boxes of server capacity, right? So that was easy to answer 4 years ago. Now Watson and cognitive computing is a range of different solutions, and even these services that you can access, we call them cognitive solutions, and we brand them under Watson. It's a little far from the Jeopardy engine. We have some solutions like the question-answer solutions that we use that are very close to the Jeopardy engine, and we have others that range anywhere in between that. So think today of Watson as a family, a suite of different solutions ranging anywhere from these simple REST APIs that you see to very, very complex systems that are helping us to dive into personalized medicine and other complex stuff. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank Henrik for coming all the way from Copenhagen, and follow the meetup groups where we definitely need to do one on data security then with health data. That seems to be something that we have to be explored. Follow the Frog Leaf Accelerator as well and see the progress, and have a great evening, guys.
But I actually over time,
他讲了说场面